Really? Okay. Let's try again. Is this better? Okay, good. So Rav Soloveitchik talks about two kinds of revelation, the cosmic and the catastrophic. The cosmic is associated with the plenty of Isaiah. The catastrophic is associated with the trauma of Yechezkel. In some sense, the experience of Aaron in this week's Parsha that we read on Saturday, that some of us read in shul, some of us read in our mirpasot or in our homes. In some sense, Aaron's experience of the death of his sons can be understood as a version of the latter. That is, in bringing strange fire, Eish Zara, in approaching God, Bikar Vatam Lifnei Hashem, they were taken from Aaron. And in some sense, I think we can understand this, as I said, as a traumatic revelation. The Midrash treats this in many ways, but as a question of theodicy. Theodicy, as John Milton in his Paradise Lost writes, is to justify the ways of God to man. Tzadik v'ralo. How do you explain that? So Rav Berechia, he sees it through the lens of a pasuk in Mishlei. Gam anosh letzadik lo tov, lahakot nedivim al yosher. To punish the righteous is not good, nor to strike the noble for their uprightness. So that pasuk raises the question, why were, in fact, the sons of Aaron, why did they merit to be killed? Why did they merit death? So the first explanation that's offered is that, in fact, all of the sons of Aaron should have died, and immediately, from the Chet HaEgel or from some of their other sins. But Hashem acted justly. How did he act justly? He waited for them to sin on their own, and because of that, they were punished, that is, in their bringing of strange fire. But another way of reading the verse is that when they came close to God, bikarvatam lifnei Hashem, means that they came close to God, that is, that they were holy before God. They came close to God. We're all familiar with this idea that Nadav and Avihu were tzaddikim. And then the second part of the verse, the pasuk from Mishlei, has to be learned differently. Lahakot nidivim al yosher, which means to strike the upright, those who came close for the purpose of uprightness. Meaning, this is a kind of divine pedagogical exercise. Nadav and Avihu have to die in their holiness in order for such a way that Klal Yisrael will understand the limits of a certain kind of avodah, that they can't participate in this kind of antinomian fervor. So it's a teaching moment. That is, really, from some perspective, they were innocent, but God had other things in mind. And I think that is the insight of Aaron, of the catastrophic revelation, that even the terrible, even the traumatic, is a form of revelation. Aaron is silent, but of course he goes on to take up on the role of high priest, immediately after leading the service for atonement in Israel. So I've been thinking an awful lot, as I'm sure you have been, about teaching as well. And I think, in a way, in our act as teachers, we understand, like Aaron, that this is a form of revelation, as terrible and as traumatic as it is. And that as teachers and as educators, everything we do implies a future. That is, teaching is always for the future. It's not only for the present, it's for the future. And even at this moment, when things are very dark and hard to understand, and I think we can't underemphasize the extent to which this is a period of trauma for our students. True, we're going to go back to stores, and we'll soon be going back to malls, and who knows, maybe one day we'll be going back to the university soon. But for all of us, and I think this also has to be emphasized, this is not business as usual. It's a time of trauma for our students and also for us. And I think through being present to them in this moment, in sharing that sense of traumatic revelation. Thank God most of us are not experiencing the death of Aaron, but in experiencing that sense of traumatic revelation, we can give them hope for a future, and our teaching, the very act of education, is based upon that. Thanks.
תודה רבה. אני לא יודעת אם יש בזום מחיאות כפיים, אבל יש מחיאות כפיים וירטואליות.